Absolutely out of the question. I celebrate our wedding anniversary, W ugly wife. Do you really believe you're worth it? You're disgusting. Thank God I'm going on a business trip. I don't want to see your face. You're a daughter of a construction, so find a nice place for me to stay. Well, I'm not counting on the help little family business that's on the bankruptcy.
Believing that I could rebuild my relationship with my husband. I had gathered my courage to ask him. My hope was cruelly crushed by the gentle smile he gave me, saying, "Take good care of me," was all a lie. His real aim was to become the CEO's son-in-law. Despite being the company's founder and CEO, his office was located in his home. As soon as my husband found out, he understood everything about my business. Since then, he has been looking down on me with animosity. And on our wedding anniversary, he made it clear that he was spending an unforgettable night with the adulteress he loved. He left me behind in despair, with a lecherous smile on his face. My family is in the construction bus. I had been living with my parents after graduating from university as an administrative assistant to support their business. I didn't want to rely on them, so I moved out when my grandma passed away. I took over her house and started one alone. Afterward, I met my husband, John, friend. We were amazingly in tune with every way, including our values. We got married quickly in a fever. John and I started a new life together in our own home. We spent happy days, elated at our promise to celebrate our wedding anniversary every year. However, such joy was marred by the house with stained walls.
It's an old house.
I let out a small sigh, recalling the conversation I'd had with my father the previous day. He recommended that we start a new life. Of course, it wasn't that I didn't want to keep the house, but it held too many memories. My beloved grandmother had lived there for over 50 years. A new life with my loving husband, of the memories of my late grandmother. My mind swayed from day to day, and I couldn't come up with a definite answer.
Just destroy this shabby house. Your family's in the construction business, right? Can't you even handle this kind of, you're just a small, inefficient meat constructor from the countryside? Or maybe this is a suitable resident, such a country bumpkin?
Every time the floor creaked or the house rumbled, he would lash out in frustration. When we first met, he was soft-spoken and cheerful. When I told him I worked for my father's company, he joked he was intimidated by my status, and we laughed together. He proposed to me with a burning faith that he would take better care of me than anyone else could. When he visited my parents' house for the first time after our marriage, I asked him what he had been imagining, but he was shocked. The house was just ordinary, and there was a small building on the same property. There were construction materials, the yard. Since then, he always came up with not to visit my parents and gradual to make degrading comments to me. Later, I heard he told everyone he was going to marry the daughter president of a company. I never told him that my family owned a business. After that, the conversations between us declined dramatically. As a matter of course, we slept in bedrooms.
If you get pregnant by mistake, I for our unborn child. Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror?
Whenever we saw each other, he would comment on my family background and appearance. Eventually, I began to avoid him as one day I went shopping after work, home soaked from the unexpected rain. Shivering and cold, I went to take a shower. My feet felt the cool dampness of the mat, even though I had changed it in the morning. Perhaps it had not dried properly. I hesitated a little, but I wanted warm as soon as possible. I took off my wet clothes without too much fuss. However, I stiffened at the uncomfortable fee was not just my imagination. There was humidity and water droplets still on the shower curtain and wall. I cleaned the bathroom the night back. even if I had forgotten to turn on exhaust fan, it was hard to imagine room would remain so wet until late the next day. There was an even fainter scent of shampoo that wasn't mine lingered. After I showered, I texted John to had come home during the day. He replied with a simple, of course. Indeed, that should have been the norm. But then I found another odd thing gap between the washing machine and his favorite watch. I was certain that I saw him leave this morning wearing it. I put on rubber gloves and went to the bathroom once more. I pulled the drain in the bathtub and checked it. I knew it. There were strands of long hair, obviously not the same color as mine or John's. Also, a few pieces of limestone that could be used in nail art were stuck on. I rarely got my nails done. Next, I went to John's bedroom, and same long hair and the same scent. There was even a smudge of foundation and lipstick on the white bedsheets. That night, as nausea overcame me, I looked at John's phone dozing off in the living room. I had been hiding in my room to avoid him after dinner. He didn't expect me to come out. He dropped his cell phone on the floor, dozed off in a good mood after a few drinks. I couldn't sense a trace of caution. His cell phone was not even locked. A little surprised, but taking advantage of the situation, I opened the message. I immediately found the adulteress. I guessed that she was his ex-girlfriend from the conversation. She was the daughter of an affluent and left him when she got engaged to rich man. However, he couldn't get over her and continued to contact her even though she was preparing to move into a luxury apartment that her fiancé had bought as a gift for their upcoming wedding. Her fiancé couldn't move in with her because she was having trouble living alone in that place. It seemed that John took advantage situation, and as if to compete with the happy her messages, he boasted that he would marry the daughter of a construction company. I guess that he decided to marry his story straight. How lame. He had no qualms about taking advantage just to show off. And I was taken for granted without realizing it. I felt really stupid. I threw his phone on the floor and to my room and cried out loud. I couldn't think straight, and I didn't want to think about it. Our relationship was in an ice age, but I didn't give up on us, and I couldn't let go of it. I just kept crying like a child until my tears dried up. I was so tired that I fell asleep before I knew it. When I woke up, I heard the sound of John closing the door on his way to work. I jumped up in a haste and cooled my eyelids off. I contemplated again about what I would do. All I could recall was the image of was so kind to me. I couldn't believe that it was all. He could have easily divorced me when out that I wasn't what he expected didn't. I thought there was still a chance, fresh start. That day, I made his favorite stew for him to come home. I usually make it from scratch, and he told me it was the best. I had fond memories of him eating, an infectious smile on his face. When he came home, he didn't say anything directly to me, but he ate it happily.
Hey, it's our anniversary this week. Do you remember our promise? Why don't we go out together? It's sad and lonely to live like this, being unable to talk to each other. We don't have to do anything special. We just want to be with you. I want to see the same things have conversations.
I gathered the courage to tell him. I wasn't sure whether it was nerves or not, but tears welled up in my eyes. I looked into his face as I wiped the tears from my eyes, believing that he was going to take it seriously, but
Phew, you're gross. A reclusive pig suddenly asks to be on our anniversary. What makes you so special that you deserve to be celebrated? An anniversary is only worth celebrating if you still have feelings for each other. Otherwise, it's just another day. No special. There is no anniversary with you at I don't remember our stupid promises. Stop saying weird things. It makes me feel nauseous now.
he glared at me with disdain, as if looking at trash. Then he stormed out on the pretext out to buy beers. I retreated to my room and cried again in devastation. That night, he was again carelessly in the living room. Did he enjoy mocking me while he was getting drunk? I looked at the messages on his phone and found that he had a reservation for dinner with his mistress on their wedding anniversary. Ironically, the same day seemed to be the anniversary of their relationship. Everything about our marriage was, there was never love on his side in this marriage from the beginning. I realized that I was just a misjudgment for him and was nothing more than maintaining a minimum level of life. I crumbled down on the spot where peacefully beside me, I trembled without tears.
I'm leaving next week for a month-long business trip, so check out some short-term apartments for me. Your family's in the construction business, but you can at least get information on properties through your connections. But then maybe a business on the verge of bankruptcy doesn't have that kind of money to spend.
It was almost December. He was still the same as ever, and I saw him off with a show of left-handed enthusiasm. A month-long business trip. Normally, I would have been upset by such short notice, but I no longer have the energy or emotional capacity to deal with it. I already knew that the trip was not more than a lie, but to make the last man with his adulteress before her marriage. Checking his phone became a regular occurrence. I felt guilty and disgusted with myself at the same time. It was providing useful information.
Have a good trip. Good luck. Ugh.
I saw him off with an innocent smile, knew nothing the following week. When he was out of sight, I made a call.
Hello? Yes, please start it from assistant.
And then I rushed back to my room to get ready. I had been waiting for this moment. I suppressed my impatience and ran house in high spirits. 1 month later, while I was at work, I received AK cell phone repeatedly. I left it alone as I was busy, but though it was on vibration, it was annoying. I asked my parents for permission to and answered the call.
Yes.
What the hell, you pig? I came back and found the house was gone without a trace. Explain what is going on.
John was shouting so loudly into the phone that I didn't even need to use the speaker.
Well, you told me to get rid of the soon as possible. That's why I asked my father. I don't know if this is supposed to privilege. Why are you complaining when I didn't want it?
I answered him nonchalantly, suppressing laughter while imagining him being panicked.
Don't bullshit with me. No matter what you ask, there is no way a small company like yours can do this in just one day. Besides, the sign has the name of a major company around here as a contract. I don't see how a company like this can do a small, non-name business a favor. Who's behind this? Don't try to fool me.
I told you I asked for it. You took one look at my parents' house and assumed it was small and mediocre. Have you actually done any research on family businesses? I certainly didn't say it was a big business, but did I say it was a family-owned small business?
He seemed to hear the bells in his hastily searched for something on him. Probably about the company on the S. He was so stunned that no words came his mouth. No wonder. The company's website showed a picture of my father as the CEO.
We are a construction company, but run various related businesses. Not only do we offer home construction, demolition, and building services, but also provide a range of other services such as landscaping, paving, fencing, and more. Recently, inflation caused a decline business, so they've all been happy to demolish and sell lots. You know, the demolition took only a few seconds. It was the last big job of the year and the land was sold at a pretty. I thought of it as the last Christmas present from my beloved grandmother. I was grateful to receive it. I had been agonizing over it for a while, but in a way, I think you helped me make my decision.
Thank you so much. John was still speechless despite my cheerfulness. I couldn't see his face, but he must have been pale and sweating profusely.
Don't tell me you threw away all my computer, my work files. Damn it. Do you have any idea what you've done?
He was half sobbing and began to ask what had happened to his belongings.
No way. I'm not that heartless. My stuff went to my parents' house, went to the right place. It's a little early, but it's my Christmas gift to you. Please accept it. Oh, by the way, the boxes should be arriving today. The sender's name is yours, and I've down the address. Assume they would come asking about it. I'm sure you guys will be able to over and come to an agreement. 33.
Where the hell did you send them?
He trailed off. He must have been so panicked that he hung up the phone with me. As I expected, and as he didn't, the recipients of the package had appeared.
Can you please explain what's going?
Oh, I see.
The man, to John's horror, was the woman's adulterer. I had sent his boxes to their condo. I had already confirmed the address in John's messages. I also took pictures of him and his adulteress at the hotel and sent them together with the boxes. The Fianca's family was well known, and, of course, the pictures were taken by them as well. On the other end of the phone, John was pointing fingers at others. The Fianca, who witnessed this, their engagement was called off and a court case was pending. When the storm passed and John reeled, he was still on the phone with me. He was furious and started cursing.
I'm going to ruin your life too. You're worthless. I'll make you regret destroying my life for the rest of yours.
You deserve everything you got? How dare you say that without even about what you did? I won't forgive you ever. This is the end.
I hung up the phone on him and then immediately called his work. I also found traces of his wrongdoings at work while I was checking his phone. Next, I called his parents and told everything. I refrained from doing all this, but I made a sincere apology. However, it was too late. John was fired from his job that day. Furious parents disowned him. Overnight, he lost his job, his house, his wife, and his family. I was sure he couldn't stay any longer. After that, we officially divorced. Of course, I negotiated a large sum of alimony. His adulteress was also abandoned by furious parents. Her ex-fiancé brought her to court for swindling, and she was ordered to pay compensation. They brought shame to the son of a family and tarnished the new luxury with their adultery. The amount of money he demanded was nothing compared to that of a wealthy citizen like me. John and his adulterous wife, who had lost their way in each other's lives, were supposed to have a fresh start in a shabby apartment. A man with a career, scarred beyond a naive young lady together as a... The 11 most likely have a hard time decent life for themselves. Rumor has it that they're having fierce arguments every day and are just trying to pay off their debts. I, on the other hand, bought a new house on the sale of the land. I try to live a modest life without of my parents and spend each day to fullest. The failed marriage makes me realize not a good judge of people. I was quickly caught up in passion, able to see clearly the true nature person. I have reflected on my naivety. I was indeed hurt, but I won't waste experience. I'm determined to grow and become a person. I want to cultivate the ability to and become confident. I set a big goal for the rest of my made a wish for the sunrise.